Today's episode is brought to you by Bones Coffee Company. You can forget about pouring coffee when you drink Bones Coffee. Not only do they offer a variety of flavors such as strawberry cheesecake and maple bacon, they are a family-owned company that puts great detail not only in their coffee, but in the artwork that comes on each individual bag. Bones Coffee has a coffee club that will deliver your favorite coffee to your door every month. If that wasn't enough, they also have some amazing swag to offer. Check out Bones Coffee Company today. I'll have my affiliate links in the show notes for you. Hi guys, welcome to another episode of True Crime Tuesday. I'm your host, SYNOVAINK. I have my two lovely co-hosts with me. I have fellow crime writer and victims advocate Cricket Andrews. Hi Cricket, how are you?
Hi Synova, hi everybody.
I've also got my favorite researcher on the line. Her name is Tammy. How are you, Tammy?
I'm good. I hope you guys are good.
We're doing good. So far, I've got Venus signed up that's already commented. Hello, Venus. Karen said she's already shared this 5 times. I appreciate it. For those of you that enjoy the show, if you share the episode throughout our episode, if you go ahead and share it to your Facebook groups or whatever, make sure and comment shared and then write the number of times or places that you have shared it. I will put you in for a drawing at the end of the show for this pack of cards, of playing cards. It's got the True Crime Tuesday logo on the front. I'll autograph the back, and I will send those to you in the mail. So share. So today we have I have a couple of announcements. Of course, make sure check out our affiliate Bones Coffee. That always helps us make more videos for you. Also, I have an announcement. I have those of you that have shown interest in having an audio book for my Dixie Mafia book. It is in the works. I have actually found a narrator. I had several narrators apply and audition for it. I found a guy with the perfect voice. He has a gruff Southern accent that fits the narrative perfectly, and so I will have that available to you as soon as possible. He is starting the process. I've already sent out the manuscript to him, and I should be getting snippets soon, so I will give you guys sound bites as soon as they're available to me. I am very excited about it because this guy was reading my words to me. And by the time he got to the end of the chapter, I was like, what's happening next? And then I'm like, oh, stupid, you know what's happening next. You wrote it. So I know you guys will love it because it made it exciting for me. And I already knew what he was going to say. So I will let you know as soon as that comes out, as soon as we get pre-orders started and all of that, I'll let you know. Okay, so hello, get a look-see. Thank you for signing on. I appreciate it. Okay. Tonight, we are talking about a case that I actually covered once before back in my True Crime archives. You can look at those videos on YouTube and have a whole playlist of archived videos. These are cases that I covered between 2016 and 2020. And then, of course, you know, I stepped away from true crime for a while to study other things. And then now I'm back. And those are all uploaded on YouTube. And this is a case that I studied then. And when I came back to true crime, I had 3 or 4 cold cases that had that kind of brought me back. I had a couple documentaries that wanted me on the show. And then I had a couple cold cases that I'd worked that were in the news. And so it was a good time to come back. But this is one that I found disturbing because this is a story that everyone seems to know what's happened, or everyone has a theory, and yet there's not enough physical evidence to prove anything. And so you've got a broken family and a broken community, and it doesn't seem like, even though this is one of those cases that I covered as it was happening. And yet nothing's happened. So hello, Joanne. Thank you for signing on. So if I see you, I will try to say hello, but if I miss you, I apologize. Go ahead and send me all your comments. I love to see them. I will respond and give you a shout out as soon as possible. Okay, so the woman we're talking about, her name is Lynn Messer. She was a 52-year-old grandmother. She lived on a 260-acre farm with her family. Now, her husband was Kerry Messer. He was a Missouri Baptist lobbyist in Jefferson City. Now, he made sure that every law that came through, he tried to make sure that they abided by Christian values and tried to protect Christian values, pro-family, traditional marriage, all those things he tried to lobby for in Jeff City. And so he was a pretty big name in Jeff City as this supposed to be severe conservative individual. He created a partnership with his son, and they called it the Missouri Family Network. So they were a couple of farmers trying to be lobbyists in Jeff City for basic Christian principles. And so this is all great and good. But this all would come falling apart on July 8th. I see July 8th. My notes are over here if you see me looking this way. July 8th of 2014. Now at 4 a.m., Kerry Messer said that a thunderstorm woke him up at 4 a.m. and his wife was not in the bed. Now, Lynn Messer had a habit of walking through her fields and through her woods along her farm. Anytime that she had too much on her mind, if she couldn't sleep or whatever, she would go out for a walk. This was not uncommon. The problem being is it was a thunderstorm. She had an injured foot and she had been walking in a walking boot, a medical boot. When he got up out of bed, her glasses are there, her medications are there, her phone is there, everything is there, including that walking boot. So he's wondering how far could she have wandered off without that boot. Now, he supposedly looks all through the house. He looks through all the barns and the outbuildings. One of his sons and his wife and his grandkids all lived on the edge of the property. Now, there's about half a mile or so away. So he drives over there about 4:15 and wakes up his son and says, he notices the four-wheeler is missing. So he asks him about the four-wheeler. The son replies, I brought that over last night. What's going on? The dad, as he's walking back, says, oh, I can't find your mother. Okay, so everybody's kind of concerned, but they thought, well, maybe she's over in the barn. Now, at the time, I guess they were having some kind of septic issues. So they were using the bathroom in this little apartment that was in the barn close to the house. So they thought, well, maybe she's over there and dad's just misplaced her. So they went back to bed. By the next morning, it is obvious that Lynn Messer is missing. They can't find her. There are all kinds of odd behavior that is noticed. Kerry Messer has several different odd behaviors. Finally, one of the sons called the police, but before he can call the police, his father tells him to move the cattle. Now, for those of you that don't know anything about cattle, farmers usually rotate their cattle to different fields to rotate to get them enough grass and get them enough to eat. So they do that. That is a common thing, but it was very unusual in a time of intense stress. That's the thing that Kerry tells his son he has to do right away. So the son's like, I don't understand this. We've got other things to do. But this was a household where you don't question the father figure. So you had to do what he said. So he went and moved the cows. Well, later on, the police come. They start questioning the family. They start asking, what's going on. And at first they think maybe she just wandered off. So they've been looking around. It's not as intense of a search as it could be, but they're still looking. Then Kerry brings forth this letter. This letter is an apology letter. I'm sorry to disappoint you kind of letter. Well, the strange thing about it is now that actually makes everyone wonder if she had been battling depression, and if this was something she had wandered off in some way to finish this. So when Carrie Messer is asked by police if his wife had ever suffered depression, he gets offended and shouts, "No, never." Then he's asked if she's ever been on antidepressants, and he shouts again, "No, never." This is in front of his son and his daughter-in-law, who both know perfectly well that she had battled depression for a long time and that she had been on antidepressants for more than a decade. So all of this is very disturbing to the kids. Now we're talking they're full grown, they're in their 30s, they're not babies by no means, but they're startled to see that this man that holds this title of Christian lobbyist is shouting his lies to the police. And so this is disturbing to them. Of course, the son comes forward and says that's not true, and of course his father gets upset with him. In fact, Lynn had battled depression for quite a while. She also had several health issues, and one of them was the severe problems with her hips, and she had just found out that wasn't going to be able to be taken care of as easily as she thought, and she was going to have to manage pain for the rest of her life. So I'm trying to tell a story really fast that takes forever. But basically, all of a sudden now everyone's kicking it up a notch. So they bring in people from, bigger police departments. They bring in, all the state search teams. They grid search that 260 acres, I believe 3 times. So they grid search that out 3 times. They bring in the dogs. The dogs don't find her either. Nothing is found, and they've grid searched this 3 times. Now, they decide they're going to change tactics, and they start giving all of the family members lie detector tests. And there's a little bit of issue on the son's lie detector test. And they ask him about it, and he says, "Yeah, well, I had an argument with my mom recently, and I feel bad about it, and I was afraid to say anything about it." So they determined by verifying his story that yes, they'd had an argument. Yes, they'd worked it out. It was all fine. But what made them look at the son even more so, they find out that the dogs had actually picked up Lynn's scent, and it had traced her scent from the house to the field that the son had just released the cattle in, and then they lost it. So they are automatically suspicious towards the son now. Why did you release the cows into that particular field on the day that your mother's missing? Were you trying to cover up evidence? And so he's like, this is what my dad said I had to do. And you don't understand. Yes, I'm in my 30s, but when dad says something, I have to do it. That's the way this family dynamic works. And so they start looking around, and they still don't find her. So they find her almost 2 years later. On the back end of the property, within a mile from the house, they find her in a place that had already been searched. And they find her, it looked like she had been laid out on a pillow with a blanket, and she had been there for a long time. So that's where I'm going to drop this overview of this case, because this is something, like I said, we could talk about. I could continue to tell you the story for the rest of the time, but I want you girls to come in and talk about it. There are so many suspicious things that go along, and we'll get into why now even the sons are suspicious of the husband. Now, to make it even worse, I'll tell you one more little detail. To make it even worse, you've got this highly principled Christian man trying to hold up this standard of perfection, and come to find out within a very short window of time, the police find out he has established a relationship with a female property owner that they had known for 20 years, and her property backs up to their property. And he had been hiding it from all of the family. So now it looks as if Carrie Messer was having an affair and not telling his children. He swears up and down that this relationship was completely platonic until marriage, and that it did not happen until several weeks after his wife went missing. But that in itself begs a lot of questions of why would you start a new relationship if you don't know your wife's actually gone? And so there's all kinds of questions in that. And then that has broken the family up even more, to the point where the sons are actually verbally, publicly accusing their father. And yet, even though her body was found, there's not enough evidence on it to show how she died. So until they can figure out how Lynn Messer died, they can't determine if there was even a homicide. So this is where the story ends as of right now. And we're talking, this has gone on for 10 years now. So we're filming this on June 18th. So in a few weeks, on July 8th, it has been 10 years since this happened, and this woman still doesn't have justice. Okay, Cricket, jump in. Tell me what you think. I'm going to be looking at the comments.
You said that when her remains were found, there was a pillow and blanket.
Mm-hmm.
That's personal right there. A stranger would not do that.
Absolutely. Well, and if she walked out in the rainstorm, which I find ridiculous in the first place, if she walked out in a rainstorm, why would she take a pillow and a blanket?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And her husband made a point. I watched an interview with him, and it was hard because I wanted to smack the smirk right off his face. But he seemed to make a point that when she couldn't see without her glasses. Now, even though her glasses were with her, I feel like he was making excuses for whatever was going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
So
well, see,
if
in
her
that
glasses weren't found, well, she can't see without them. I mean, leaving without the boot, that number one right there.
Mm-hmm.
Why would
Right.
she even go for a walk? Granted, the rain, but any condition, she would not have gone without the boot.
Right. Well, from what I understand, and I watched that interview as well. I've watched it twice, and I've been catching things as you go. He talks about the glasses. The glasses were found at the house. They weren't found by her. They were found on the glass. They were found at the house.
Yeah.
Under the original, that's the first thing the police noticed. All of her things that she needed to go on a walk were still
there.
at the house. And so, but then you get over here to, and this is almost 2 years later when he's doing this interview for a local TV station. He starts backing off of the storm. See, when this first hit the news and it first was going out, it was a big thunderstorm. And she walked out into this big thunderstorm, and the thunderstorm is what woke him up at 4:00. So that was the big, intense headlines that you saw at the beginning. Woman walks out into a thunderstorm and never seen again. But then he starts backing off of that because the first thing people start asking is, why would she walk out into a massive thunderstorm?
Exactly.
So when you watch the interview, and it's almost 2 years later, he's backing off. He's like, well, it was a drizzling rain, but it was cloudless, so it was dark out there. So I mean, all night long we may have got a half an inch of rain,
and
I'm like,
still describing too much. Your wife is missing, and it was like he was writing a book, like
absolutely.
The way the raindrops were falling. And my question too now with the blanket, has anybody ever looked into, does it match one in the house?
Yes, he said something about that in the interview, that he believed it matched the set that he had in the house. He said that in the interview. But what I find even more disturbing, okay, say she needed to go out in the rain to run across the little way to the barn to use the bathroom. She may have had a blanket held over her head, okay? I can see blanket. Okay. Yeah. Pillow?
No.
It was a handmade pillow that, or I'm not sure if the pillow was handmade or if it was just like a pillowcase that they put over that was handmade, but it was a handmade pillow that matched the pillows in their house. So she was found, and there wasn't. She was almost basically skeletal remains. That was it.
Right.
But she was in her nightgown, which was one of those, tent dress things.
Mm-hmm.
She was in that, and she was on a pillow and a blanket. So I'm sitting here going, why would she take a pillow and a blanket out in the rain? Now here we do have to back up right there just to kind of qualify that, because you always want to, when you're going over some of these things, you want to listen to both sides of people's stories, because if you don't, they're going to use their side as an excuse. So I'm not necessarily agreeing with him at all, but I want to try to think about all of the excuses that he's going to put up. Okay. And by putting all of those excuses up and knocking them down like bowling pins, it leaves him with less excuses to bring forward. Okay. So this is what I'm looking at like this. He says that she was on sleeping medication. She was on antidepressants, which he finally admits to because he has to. He's forced to do that. And he's on pain, and she's on pain pills. Okay. So he said that that she was on those, and she had a habit of sometimes mixing them up. And then she would get disoriented and not know where she was. And that's what happened. He thinks that she messed up her pills and she walked out in the rain and she hurt herself somewhere or some way. He's now 2 years later in that interview that he gave, he's saying she did it on purpose. But in the first parts of the interviews that he did, earlier, he said he thinks she just, it was an accident, that she just couldn't see and she messed up her pills. She couldn't figure out where she was disoriented, whatever. Well, if you watch Disappeared, this case was on Disappeared, season 8, episode 1, I believe they called it American Gothic. Now, if you watch that whole episode, you'll find in that I believe it's her sister says that there was 3 occasions that she can think of that she did mess up her medication. There was one time that she accidentally took a sleeping pill instead of a pain pill, and she wrecked her car. Then there was one time that she messed up her pills and she fell and ended up with a black eye. And then there was another time she didn't disclose what that was. And then there's another disturbing little snippet in there that I'm just going to throw out, and you guys can digest it however you want, and we'll try to figure out where it fits. Many, many, many years before, one of the sons said, yes, she does have a habit of, sometimes she gets disoriented when her medicine's messed up or whatever. We found her crying in our dining room in the middle of the night. This was back when he lived at home. She said she'd gotten lost and couldn't find her way back to her bedroom, and she was crying at the kitchen table. And so I'm going to throw that out there. I'm going to leave that out there and let it hang for a second. So we know of at least 4 strange incidences that are blamed on medication issues. Okay. So we're going to you can take those as face value, or you can dive into those a little bit more. And I want to look into some of that a little bit. Tammy, I haven't heard much from you. Do you have something to say?
Yeah, I noticed in the interview, he changed it to a light rain.
Mm-hmm. Yep. He spent like 5 or 6 minutes describing how, no, it was a light rain and we only got half an inch over the whole evening and over all night long and all this stuff. And I was like, wait a minute. When this all started, it was a thunderstorm, and that's what woke you up, and she's not in the bed and you started being frantic,
And why didn't the person that was interviewing him question him on that? They didn't question him on anything. They just let him talk. And
yeah.
They didn't
No,
show
and
him.
in reality, she asked this. I hate it when interviewers ask stupid, unintelligent questions. How much did you love your wife?
Yeah.
I didn't love her at all. I was cheating on her and I killed her and threw her out in the back of the woods. You think he's going to say that? He's going to make up some BS. Oh, I loved her more than air. You know?
Yeah, they all say that.
You know, I'm like, don't ask stupid questions. You're going to get stupid answers.
You know, the medication note, if she was not in her right mind, she would not have gotten far. And had the police been called sooner that she was missing, I believe she'd have been found because she'd have been somewhere. She was on the property.
I don't think she was been found because
if
she wasn't intended to be found. See,
right,
she wasn't there until all of the. I don't believe she was there until all of the heat died down and they stopped searching the property.
Yeah,
I think
but
she
I
was
mean,
gone
in
somewhere.
an actual situation where it was a medication thing, she'd have been found there. But in this situation, there was too much. Let's move the cows. Let's do this. Let's do that.
Mm-hmm. Well, and see, he said he woke up at 4 o'clock and couldn't find her, and he had been looking since 4 o'clock. And it was 7 o'clock when the older son, see, the younger son and his family lived on the other side of the property. And the older son, I believe it was, with his kids lived, somewhere else. But he came back to start working on the farm because they're all farmers and they worked on it together. And when he got there, that's when he said, I can't find your mom. And there's a note. And the son's like, can't find what is it? So he starts looking. And then it's a little while later. So we know that I didn't check to see when the 911 call went through. I don't know if I ever seen that. Have you girls seen when the time the 911 call came through?
No, I haven't seen anything on the 911 call.
The thing with it is the husband never did call 911. He waited until his son called.
And didn't he get angry at the son for calling too?
He got angry at the son. I don't know if he got angry at the son for calling. He got angry at the son for telling the police the truth about the antidepressants. And, this is something that I was talking to you girls about before we started, but I'll just share it with the audience. There is a misunderstanding in Christianity. They think that they have to have this perfect facade of perfection because you're a Christian. And the problem with that is nobody's perfect. Nobody can live up to that. Nobody can live up to that concept. The concept is you as a human being are imperfect. You have to grab hold of something supernatural that is imperfect, that is perfect. That's where your faith is in something bigger than you. Your faith is in a higher power than you physically do the best you can. Well, the problem is they get to where that facade is more important than anything else, and you get over into that lifestyle to where it don't look good. It don't look good to do this. It don't look good to do that. We can't, we're supposed to be this. We're supposed to be that. Well, when all that happens, that's when you get somebody yelling at police and lying to them because they don't want to admit that their wife has battled depression for years. They don't want to admit that she's on medication, because there's denominations out there and there's people in a lot of different denominations that believe if you're on medication, you're not trusting God, you're trusting a doctor more than God, and they will condemn you for it. So you have to understand that's what we're operating in. We're operating in somebody who is so steeped in a system that he has to have this perfect facade, and it's being busted all to pieces, and so
like honor killings, but not to that degree, but the honor part, like we can't let this be known. We can't let that be known.
Right. It's like, we don't want to tarnish anybody's reputation here. Well, you're tarnishing your own reputation by not telling the dadgum truth. You are you're tarnishing your own reputation by starting a relationship before you even know if your wife's dead or not. You're tarnishing your own reputation by disassociating your sons. You are tarnishing your own reputation by not allowing them at the funerals. You're tarnishing your own reputation. You see, you know, and so this is where I'm not, everything we have to say is allegedly, because there's no official word on any of this yet, but everything's allegedly. So he allegedly lied to the police in front of his son, and he allegedly, whatever he allegedly did. But here's the thing. When they were going through the interrogations and doing the lie detector tests and all these things, a lot of times people, they're in a nervous habit. They're nervous in front of the police. They're nervous in front of the lie detector. It's a nerve-wracking procedure, and a lot of times they'll just spill the beans. Okay, and Kerry Messer, while he was talking to the police, telling them all the details that they already knew, he threw in a random detail that they didn't even ask about. And this is one thing I wanted to talk to you girls about. He threw in just randomly, oh yeah, and on the morning that she went missing, on the morning that she went missing, I washed the dog in the back of my truck with a hose.
Well,
why would you tell police
that tells me that there was a body in the back of that truck. You normally answer the questions they ask you. When you're throwing out information like that, that's going to make me think we need to check that truck out more.
Well, and they did. And see, this is where I feel like they need to think outside of the box in this one, because we're talking about someone who has an established alleged behavior of messing up their medicines or taking too many medicines or something like that. Okay. Which I think all of that may be something more than what it says it is. We'll go into that. But she has a pattern of behavior of having issues with her medication. Why would you shoot her in the head? Why would you stab her? Why would you do anything bloody whatsoever? Just medications again.
Yep.
And just make sure it's deadly this time. Wrap her up in that blanket she was found in. There ain't going to be anything in the back of that truck.
Yeah, because
you're not going to find blood.
It doesn't seem like she was. I mean, she had the mind withal to have the medication box to take this day, morning, noon, night. So I question that with the or taking wrong meds.
It's like there was already an answer.
Come to find out. Go ahead, Tammy. What'd you say?
I was just going to say, it sounds like he had an answer for everything that would possibly come up later. He already had it.
Absolutely. That's everything the thing. So he has an answer for. Yeah. Okay. So this is my thought process on it. He thought, in case they check my truck and they find something, or somebody tells them I was washing out the bed of my truck, I'm going to go ahead and give them a narrative. And so that's what I feel like that was. He was like, okay, my sons are telling the truth, and they may tell on me that they saw me washing out my truck. So I better come up with an excuse in advance. That's what that feels like. Of course, allegedly, I just need to print allegedly all across the screen for the rest of the show. Allegedly, because the thing with it is whatever happened, we need an answer, and it's going to be 10 years real soon. And the son posted a big, huge, long, heart-wrenching post on her Facebook page about all of the stuff that he's gone through and how his dad has mistreated him and excommunicated him and basically kicked him off the farm and his house, and him and his kids and his wife had to find another place, and they worked together in that lobbying network, and so he didn't have a job anymore, and all of these
let's
things.
not forget that he had the funeral in was it a different county or whatever? The boys did not even get to go to their mother's funeral.
Yeah. Because they had, see, this is classic narcissistic behavior. You dare question me, I'm going to punish you in whatever capacity I choose, and that's the thing. This is classic narcissistic behavior. I have a right to do what I want to do with my wife. I don't care if it's your mother and your grandmother. I'm going to do what I want to do. And before she's even found, I mean, within a few weeks, I believe it was, he had already supposedly started this relationship with this woman. Well, I cut that back a little ways, and you find out, if you read all the stuff and you watch all the shows, you find out that she said something odd to her daughter-in-law the day before all of this crap happened. The day before, she said, if something happens to me, I want Carrie to marry, I'm just going to say so-and-so. And the daughter-in-law is like, something weird to say, but everything seemed happy and upbeat and just whatever. And she, they had known her for 20 years and, whatever, so she just kind of let it go and went on with the conversation another way. Now she looks back and thinks, okay, what happened here? Now, there was an issue once 6 months before this that I have to be careful because we can't say the S word on YouTube. Her father had died, and she had decided she wanted to finish it all, and she went out to the barn with a gun, and she told her she decided against it, and she put the gun back away, and she told her daughter-in-law about it. Okay. Well, so here's the thing. Was it 6 months ago when she found out that her husband was cheating on her? Was it 6 months ago when she figured out that this family friend was more than that to her husband? This woman that she trusted with her family, and she had betrayed her? Was this something else? Also, we're going to go back to this concept of this authoritarian type of parenting. And this is where you have a different type of parent when you are 33 years old and you're afraid to question your father, even though he's doing the wrong thing and lying about it to the police. That shows the type of relationship this man had with his sons and what type of relationship he had with his wife. Okay. So here's where I'm going to twist it a little bit, and I'm going to give you a theory. It's all alleged, there we go. There's our magic word. But here's all alleged. What if what if Lynn found out about the other woman? What if these medication accidents weren't actually accidents? What if she knew something was going to happen soon because there was other things going on that the children didn't know about? So what if she told her daughter-in-law that for a specific reason? What if that she took her wrong medicines, fell, and had a black eye? I have fallen so many times. I wear crazy shoes and they're easy to fall in. But in reality, I usually fall in my flip-flops more than I fall in my high heels. But anyways, I digress. I've never had a black eye from falling down. Ever. I've broke my foot. I have skinned my knee. But I've never had a black eye from falling down. Girls, have you had a black eye from falling down?
Nope.
I have. but that's because I broke
You
my
have?
nose. Yeah, but I broke my nose.
Ellen broke
So,
her nose.
yeah, raccoon eyes. But that's the only
So-
time.
So there was one situation where she messed up her medicines. She fell and she had a black eye.
No.
To me, that doesn't sound legitimate.
No. And
The fact that her child found her in her own living in her own kitchen. Now, listen to this. I'm a mother. I've homeschooled my kids. I'm a Sunday school teacher. I have lived my life on a farm that's been in the family for 4 generations. I love all of the planting and the seeding and the crops and the cattle and my life is this farm. The man that I married and gave my soul to, I've lived for God my whole life. I've done everything by the book as best as I possibly can. I find out the man that I gave my soul to is messing around with the neighbor. I am crying at the kitchen table, not knowing what the heck to do with my life or how the heck this has happened to me. My child finds me crying in the dark. Am I going to tell them why I'm crying, or am I going to make up some BS about, oh yeah, I got turned around and didn't make it back to my room? As a mother, what do you think you would do? Or as a parent, do you think you would tell your child the truth?
No.
Or would you make up some BS?
Make up some BS.
See, to me, that whole concept of, oh, she got lost in her kitchen or her dining room.
Mm-hmm.
To me, this is odd. Now,
and also when you fall, your nose is in front, your head and your forehead. Those are the things that are going to hit first. Black eyes, when I think of that, somebody hit you. That's
and they didn't say black eyes. They said a black eye.
Well, a black eye. But
I mean?
it's hard,
Usually,
hard to...
the only time I got a black eye was when I was playing baseball with the boys.
Yeah.
And, when I was a teenager, I was playing baseball with the boys, and their pitcher sucked, and he hit me in the face. That's the only time I've had a black eye. So I've had a ball hit me in the face, and that's how I had a black eye. Venus says, I fell earlier this year in my bathroom. My eye was all bloody. My face was all black.
Oh.
I looked like a pure spook. I hope you're okay now, Venus. I've seen pictures of you recently. Are you okay? I mean, you look okay. So but see, all of those show injuries to more than one eye,
Right.
and so to me that just it seems weird. But it wouldn't be weird if all of this other stuff hasn't happened. You know what I mean? When all of this other stuff adds to it. So this is where I'm at. It's 10 years on, almost. You've got 2 sons who are questioning their father. You've got a father who has moved on to another woman. They're married now. And who has excommunicated his sons. But he is still a lobbyist for this religious organization in Jeff City. So this goes into the concept of how much does the suspicion is going to be on a person, and they're still allowed to do this kind of behavior.
Well, they probably
this is where I'm like,
they probably have secret files too.
My thought on it is they don't care. He's probably making them plenty of money.
Yep.
So this is the case that we have this week. You girls have anything you want to add to it? Because we're about 45 minutes in.
It just makes me wonder about his connections too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Seems like he's being protected, or
absolutely. I think it's not necessarily that he's being protected, but it's that he is.
His money they want his money, so
well, it's not necessarily his money, but see, a lobbyist is someone who is like the go-between between a group of people and the government. Right. So he's a professional orator. Mm-hmm. So he's the one that says, okay, all these people are like, well, we have this issue with this new law that's going to come up. It's going to cause us problems, but we don't know how to approach the government. So that's what a lobbyist does. A lobbyist goes and says, okay, I will talk for you. Okay. Well, unfortunately, that's how a lot of laws are manipulated in favor of major organizations. And so, a lobbyist, if they're good, are very valuable, to certain organizations. And I like what he's supposedly lobbying for. He's lobbying for, protecting traditional family values and, pro-family and all this stuff. That's all great and good. But how long do you keep that position of status when there is so much shadow over your head? I mean,
Yeah.
Hollywood disbands you. Hollywood blocks you when your wife accuses you of domestic assault and you're Johnny Depp and you didn't do nothing and you still lose your job. And I'm sitting here going, Hollywood is the most corrupt organization in the U.S.
Yeah, and that's
for a rumor, and yet this big religious organization isn't cutting someone who is a viable suspect in his wife's death.
Yeah, that's what got to me with the family, and I'm thinking, you allegedly killed your wife. How can he even have this kind of position?
I don't know. As long as he is a suspect or a person of interest,
exactly,
I feel like he should do the right thing and say, hey, look, I'm going to step down because I'm bringing a shadow over this organization. I'm going to step down because I don't want to bring a shadow over this. I'm innocent, but I'm going to step down for the benefit of the organization until my name is cleared, and then I will come back. That would be the right Christian thing to do.
Is he still a suspect in the case?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Police, as of this point, say that he's a person of interest, but until they actually can prove she was murdered and laid out there, they don't have proof of. They don't actually have a crime. I mean, I guess if you're a grown woman and you want to walk out to the back of your 260 acres and you want to lay out there and die, that's not a crime. And so until they can prove that she didn't put herself out there, this is where we're at. But they, at this point, the last thing I heard was some people think that he either killed her himself and put her out there, or she did it herself and he tried to cover it up.
Well, was it he who asked his son about driving the four-wheeler, or was that vice versa? Because
when he went out at 4:00 in the morning, he was looking for his wife, and he noticed one of their four-wheelers was missing. When he went to wake up his son and tell his son about the mother being missing, he saw the four-wheeler there. So he asked them, did you bring the four-wheeler over here last night or this morning? Or, basically, I guess in the back of his mind, logically, you could think, okay, well, maybe she came over here on the four-wheeler. You know what I'm saying?
Or maybe he got put the four-wheeler. I mean, it's just one of those other things that kind of seems too convenient.
Right. Now, let's jump in real quick before we go, because I knew there was missing something. She supposedly left this letter, and this letter says, the first line says, I am sorry, Pa, to put you through this. I love you with all my heart. Then it goes into a whole nother section of, I'm sorry to make you hate me. I wish things were different, stuff like that. And then the whole note seemed weird. So the police sent it up to FBI, Quantico, and had them look at it. Well, for one, everything she writes is in cursive. This was handwritten. It looks enough like her handwriting that it could be hers. Something odd about that note. The first part was written in a fine-tipped pen. The middle part of it was written in a fine-tipped Sharpie. The bottom part of it, the last couple lines, was written in the fine-tip pen. Okay. So why would you write a note in 3 sections like that? it almost looks like it was written at 2 different times by, different things. And so my theory on the note, and this is just my theory, she had an argument with her son. It was over raising the children. It was over, her opinion on raising his children. He argued back with her and they fussed. And so why couldn't, just allegedly, she had gone in and started a letter. I'm sorry to make you hate me. I wish things were different. She could start a letter like that to her son to start to apologize. They quickly made up and it was a done deal. She doesn't throw the letter away. It stays on the desk. Somebody else is looking for some way out. So they come up and they start a letter that says, I love you, Pa. I'm sorry to put you through this. I love you with all my heart. Then it goes into, I'm sorry to make you hate me. All of these things are very vague to leave you thinking, well, maybe she intended this. Okay. But to me, I think that's a logical conclusion. What do you think, girls?
Yeah, I agree with the different writing. I mean, I have heard where some people can't communicate face to face, so they'll write something down on paper, and then the person that they might be having a problem with will come up and write something underneath. It kind of sounds like that, but in a setup-y kind of way, because she started writing what she did, and it's not in her.
Almost like somebody wrote around her words.
Yes.
To try to make it say something it didn't say.
Yeah.
Because she just wrote about a little paragraph, and then the words above it and below it were written in a whole different pen.
Exactly, and have nothing to do with what she was writing about.
So to me, that's a possibility. What was you going to say, Tammy?
I just said the note to me is weird.
It is.
Even with that possibility, it's still
right. Well, and if you want to think it's even weirder, in that interview, which I can give you guys links to the things we watched, in that interview, he had made a copy of that letter before he gave it to the police, and the police were upset about that. But he only kept the 2 top lines. He says, the rest wasn't written to me.
Yeah, and I found that
I think that tells you exactly what he said. I think he slipped out the truth right there. That wasn't written for him. That part was written to the son because she had just had an argument with him. I think he told the truth right there and didn't mean to.
Yep.
But he literally cut off the top 2 lines and folded that up and carried that in his wallet for 2 years instead of the whole letter.
Yeah, because when I saw him pull that's why I questioned you, because number one, it was a small piece of paper and it was just too clean, like no wrinkles, no.
Because it was a photocopy.
Yeah. But still, that's not the entirety of it.
Yeah. And he was talking about how this letter has given me strength, and this letter has kept me through this storm, and this letter has, and it's like, if it's a note that says she's going to end it all, how is that keeping you through the stinking storm? How is that giving you any strength or how is that helping you through this situation? And so I feel like there's just so many things that he mentions in that interview that don't line up with the first things he said when it all started. So, okay, you guys have anything else to say? Guys, if you have shared, please put it in the comments. I've seen a couple people that have shared, and I'm getting you on my spinning wheel.
I can't tell how many times Venus shared, at least 3, but he don't say exactly. So Venus,
how many times have you shared? Joanne says, did they do an autopsy? I suppose her body was too decomposed. They are investigating it, but like I said, they found her in 2016. So it's been 8 years since they found her. Obviously,
they skeletal remains
have an obvious.
It's real hard.
Right. They don't have an obvious mode of death here. They don't have anything obvious. Okay. So, all right. So I don't see Marion. And I don't see Barbara Hall.
Yeah, they're not in here tonight. See,
Karen Langston says 5 shares. Okay.
And
All
Venus
right.
said
Well,
a couple of people in Messenger and one on Facebook, so I'm gonna say at least 3 for him. For her, I mean.
yeah, I've got 3 for Venus. I've got 5 for Karen Langston. Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, I'm going to spin the wheel, and we're going to see who gets the pack of cards this week. Now, Venus, I know you've already got a pack of cards, so if your name comes up, I'll get you something else. Everybody give me a drum roll, please. Spinny, spinny wheel. All right, Karen Langston. Karen Langston.
Congratulations, Karen.
Karen, I believe you are the winner of the cards. I don't know if I have your address. If I don't, make sure and send it to me through Messenger. I will get you these cards autographed, and I will send them out to you. Guys, keep in touch. I will see you guys next Tuesday for another True Crime Tuesday. Girls, you want to say something before I run the outro credits?
Have a good night, and don't forget to subscribe, like, and share.
Absolutely.
Yep, I agree.